Welcome to the Moms Network and Dana Being Data live crossover event. The Moms Network cast and I would like to welcome Dana Davenport as we get together via Zoom and Liz in the station to talk to you about the current crisis of COVID-19 and how it has been affecting us, affecting our families, affecting our children, and even some of us affecting our business. It's been a really challenging couple of weeks. I know stress levels are really high, and none of us really know what's going on or when things are going to go back to normal. So we wanted to just check in with all of you and share from our perspectives how we're handling everything. I know for me, to get ready for this live event, I showered, I blew dried my hair, I put on some makeup, and I am, however, wearing pajama pants, but they are my fancy pajamas. So just wanted to, clear up a couple of those things right away.
Put it out there.
How is everyone doing? How are you handling this? Patty, you're up in my left-hand corner, so maybe we'll start with you.
Your Brady Bunch view of the world.
Exactly.
We're all, first and foremost, we're all safe and healthy, so that is really important. We are completely doing the sheltering in. For me, my office is out of my home, so I now have new coworkers, consisting of a junior in high school and a husband and a dog, and wow, they're fantastic to work with. So, but we're doing well. I think the first 2 weeks were a little hard. I feel this week, at least going into it, I'm feeling like I can breathe just a little bit more. I feel like and I think a lot of that is I'm controlling the information I'm taking in, and I'm not taking it all in all the time. And that has helped a lot for sure.
Yeah. How about you, Sarita?
So I have a senior in high school, and that's been the hardest, challenging part for us. We are in the midst of doing the college decision process and navigating. So I think this was supposed to be our next few months of celebration. So trying to figure out how we can do something different. The advantage having older kids, they're pretty self-sufficient. But at the same time, I have to say, they're stubborn. It's hard to get them to do things the way you might be able to get your younger kids to listen to you. And I think initially it was just like a staycation. We stayed home and everyone kind of did their own things. And now that this is going to be longer than we anticipated, I think we're trying to find our new normal and maybe try to establish some form of routine after spring break, so everyone just kind of stays sane. And like Patty said, I own businesses and we're trying to find new ways of reinventing and staying virtual. And as many of you know, with unemployment or small businesses getting funding, it's a lot of catch up for all of us to figure out what all that means and how do we navigate that process. So I think it's overwhelming, and hopefully we all find that new normal soon.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Grace, how about you and your little ones?
It's going better than expected. I find myself feeling a little guilty sometimes because I'm enjoying the time that we're having, although under the circumstances, of course, I wouldn't want it this way. But we've slowed down a lot. Like we just have time, right? So there's a lot of time to do the extra stuff that we don't normally get to do because we're racing around. I'm no longer an Uber driver, so that's cool. I don't chauffeur my kids everywhere. So we have found so much more time in the day to just play, and I'm cooking a lot more. My husband's cooking a lot more. He usually travels quite a bit, and he's home a lot now. And before we went live, I was laughing because we had a rock, paper, scissors for the office, and he won. So and it's like we're just trying to share space and like find space, but also enjoy just having the time to play and do the things we haven't done. I gave him a laundry list of to-dos. I said, get yourself to Home Depot, and we're gonna need these things, and these are the honeydews, and it's a blessing in itself, but it's also scary. I have family overseas in Italy that are right in the thick of all of this. So checking in with them every single day, just hearing what they're going through and wondering if we're on the cusp of that too. It has been really emotional, but for the most part, we're just taking it day by day.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like a good plan and kind of the only plan at this point, Let's see. Lindsay, how are you?
Oh,
There
we are doing okay. My husband works from home as well. I feel like Grace and I are living parallel lives. So we have a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old. I have a traveling husband who's completely grounded. He typically travels to Europe and all over like Minnesota and Wisconsin and things like that. So he's not traveling at all. We're definitely cooking a lot more. We are completely sheltering in place as well, just like Patty said. My husband had a rare fungal infection about 2 years ago, so I never thought that that would be a problem again, except for the fact that it is now. So, I'm trying not to be paranoid and, like Patty said, limiting what I take in, but being smart about things and not spending time with anyone else, obviously, just our immediate family, and trying to keep the kids occupied, semi-occupied. We're going outside a lot, just in our own yard. We're not going to the parks, that sort of thing, but lots of chalk time on the sidewalks, lots of walks every single day, and just one day at a time.
Erica, and speaking of chalk on the sidewalk, Erica posted this unbelievable picture. We're probably going to send it out in our newsletter later tonight that goes out to the Branch Moms community. But they did it was almost like a mosaic or on your front walkway.
Yeah, I can't take any credit ever for anything because it's always somebody else's idea on Facebook. So we just took a blue painter's tape, and so we did a design, and then they colored within that, and then you remove the tape, so it looks like stained glass. So we took it to another level. We did our whole walkway. Took about 3 hours. They took a lunch break. And somebody on Facebook goes like, "Oh gosh, like that was so long." You go, "Girl, I have nothing but time." Something takes 3 hours, then there you go. Go do the iPad for the next 3. We're okay. We're healthy. We're good. We're sheltering. I have an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old. Emotions are a roller coaster. First it was denial, then it was sadness, anger, acceptance, happiness, and now we're all just hopeful and nervous and enjoying the time that we're spending together, but also looking forward to things getting a little bit back to normal. My day-to-day hasn't changed too drastically. I'm primarily a stay-at-home mom to these 2 little ones. My husband either travels or is working from home. So we're used to him having him at home. And I'm just, I am seeing them 100% of the time instead of getting little breaks here and there. There's no break. It's all good. All good. We're fine. Everyone's fine.
Oh,
T-shirt.
right. Well, Dana, we welcome you in this crossover. Dana is the host of Dana Being Dana, which is a radio show as well as a TV show on NCTV 17. And we wanted you to join us for, this conversation so we can check in with you and see how you and your family are doing.
First of all, I am so excited to connect with the ladies of the Moms Network. You guys are amazing. I love your show on Naperville Community Television. And who would think that a quarantine, right, a pandemic would connect us in a way. And we'll talk about some of the connections that have happened as a result of being isolated and being home. But it's super exciting to hang out with you all. I love what you do, and it's so awesome for us to all collaborate and come together. I must give a shout out to my dishwasher. I think it's Maytag that has been in full effect since this quarantine.
Non-stop.
My dishwasher's like, really? Because we just ran yesterday. There's a lot of cooking. There's a lot of dishwashing going on in my house, and it's good to be here. It's good to be healthy. It's good to be alive. I've got 2 children who are in elementary school, and it's been a change for us. I've enjoyed the positives have been that we have been much more connected. We've spent time together, I have one child who has special needs, and the verbal and the vocabulary really comes out when we find ourselves together and spending time. So I've really enjoyed the time. On the other hand, like Dr. Kathy said earlier, it's nice to dress up. My eyes, if I'm rubbing my eyes during this time, I've had contacts in for the first time in weeks, and so it's just nice to connect with you all and dress up and put on clothes. I may have pajama bottoms on the bottom,
Oh
but
yeah. Yep, rocking them.
it's all about. And I said this earlier, when it's spring break for some of the districts locally, and my kids have migrated from their bedrooms. Our trip, we were originally going to be in DC, so we're a little bit disappointed that we're not in DC for spring break, but we are on the couch, which is a lovely destination, a lovely safe destination. So we're doing good. You know, there are ebbs and flows, highs and lows, and I encourage everybody to practice compassion, understanding, love during this time. So we're doing good, and we're just happy to be here right now.
Wow. I couldn't agree more with kindness and compassion. You know, running the branch and the mom forum groups has been one of the stressors. It's one of the beautiful parts of this time and one of the stressors. We ended up having to put the groups on post approval, which I explained on the groups because we were having so much come in, and sometimes one post was being shared 12 times in a row, and sometimes people were posting things that were coming from sources that I couldn't verify, or sometimes the information was just incorrect. And so, you know, I put out a post a couple days ago to ask for some grace and some understanding that we're doing our best to make sure that the information going out is kind, it's helpful. We try to keep some of it positive. We try to keep it truthful, though, which some of it's negative. And we're just doing our best to try to figure out the balance and the fine lines and the gray areas that we need to strike to keep things going in the right direction. And that has its challenges. And some people don't you know, disagree with how we do that. So I get those messages. So I'm kind of working on those every day. But I also am coming away from this feeling incredibly proud of the community that we have. And that's just not me, because I run the branch doesn't mean it's the entire community and how much people are helping people and saying, I have size 4 diapers and we're now in 5. I'll put them out on my porch. It's free to anyone that needs them, or letting people know where the toilet paper is. Who knew that it would be, you know, such a big thing. So what are some of, you know, we want to talk about the realities of this, which some of them are not good and they're difficult to talk about and they're scary. But we also want to keep this, you know, positive and talk about things that are coming out of this situation that might be really beneficial for yourself and for your families. But to start off with, what are some of the largest stressors in your specific situation? And you've touched on a few of those things in your intros, but is there anything specific that's really kind of causing you to lose sleep at night?
You know, I have, obviously I mentioned I have family overseas that they're closely on my mind and my heart every single day. We think about them, I communicate with them, and it's crazy because obviously we've had this access to communicate on a daily basis, but we usually talk like a couple times a month, and now it is every day. If I don't hear from them, I'm harassing them like we're fine, you know, but we talk every day because it's just so much on the news and in the media as to what's going on in Italy that my heart is constantly like, oh my gosh, what's next? And then also even in the States, my in-laws are out in Florida, and so they, for a while, you know, love them dearly, but for a while, I felt like they weren't taking it as seriously in terms of like precautions, because the whole state really wasn't. And so now that they are, I'm like taking a breath, but it just feels like I'm on edge thinking about them because they're out there on their own. And if one of them got sick, that would be really challenging. And then we're all the way up here. My littlest guy, he's had some asthmatic symptoms, so I'm super conscious of that. We've been in and out of the ER through the years with different respiratory issues, so that is heavily weighted. And just kind of riding this out, the timeline, right? My oldest is 7, and he just wants to know, like, he's like, I'm okay. I'm good with e-learning. I'm good with being home, but for how long?
Right.
I don't have an answer, and I don't want to give him one just to satisfy him. I want to give him an honest one, and there just isn't one right now because we don't know.
Yeah.
So that's tricky for us.
I think the timeline thing is probably the biggest stressor, like not having, this is when it's going to be better, or like, this is when we're going to be back to normal. It's just letting that. And I have 2 children, I have 2 older children who do not live with me anymore. And so they're, sheltering in their places. And one of them is a senior in college, and God love him because he makes very good choices, I'm sure, but he's a senior in college. And so you want him to take it serious, and you hope that he's, not having people over at the house, or he's not going out or anything. And so I do text him every day. I mean, he's probably blocked me. I don't even know. Like, can I tell if he's blocked me? Because I don't even know. But I just want to make sure that the kids are safe, and and this is like the first test I think I've had as my kids as adults, like letting them make adult decisions and assuming and hoping, I hope all those things we talked about growing up, man, I hope you're doing them. I hope you're doing them. And so that keeps me up at night, is the 2 kids that are not under my roof, that I can't control their day to day, and make sure they're doing what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
I'd say, Patty, you're doing a great job. And all the mamas out there and the papas out there who have kids who don't live with them, I think everybody's doing a great job. And this is kind of where the rubber meets the road. I think that's one of the stressors is, have I done enough? Are my kids okay? My kids, like I said before, they're in elementary school. So my stressor initially was just getting through homeschooling. In addition to my job, I work from home. A lot of people don't recall or remember, but I am an attorney during the day. That is my day job. I'm still practicing law. And since the shelter in place, I've taken on also the role of teacher and cafeteria lady and short order cook.
Dishwasher. Don't forget the dishwashing.
Dishwashing, assistant principal, the disciplinarian,
Dean.
everything in between. Like I said, I have a child with special needs, but with both of my children, I always wonder, like, am I doing all the things right? And have I covered all the lessons, and have we done everything we need to? And my takeaway from that, and this is my message to all the mamas out there and all the papas out there who are doing the homeschool thing, is be gentle with yourself. We're going to all get through this. It'll be interesting to see what comes out in terms of mandatory school regulations and things like that. But I think doing the best you can. One thing that I saw on social media was that there's going to be education and learning that's not part of the curriculum. You're going to have conversations with your children. You're going to talk to your kids. You're going to share things with your kids, impart wisdom and knowledge, spend time with your children in a way that's not on social media. It's not about TikTok and the dance, but you're going to be doing other things to impart wisdom and knowledge in your children that's going to be invaluable to them. So bank on that, trust that, and be gentle with yourself. I think that's so important.
Right. Just
Trey?
because a 3rd grader misses their history chapter on some country, right, doesn't mean that they're going to move forward and not have knowledge. And I agree with you, Dana. I think of the conversations that I've been able to have with my kids and the time we've spent together. Now they're teenagers. I have a 16 and 17-year-old. They both have girlfriends. It's very hard for them not to see their girlfriends, but thank goodness for technology. And I was telling them, if this had happened when I was a senior in high school, because I was a senior in high school, and I said, I had a landline, that was it. I mean, we used to like write notes and fold them up into little footballs and like pass them in the hall. Like there was no text message. There was no online. There was no, Zoom. There was no FaceTime. So I'm trying to impart the thought process that we can't control what's happening right now, and the things that we have to do to keep ourselves safe, to keep our community safe. But we can choose to keep our level of happiness and joy and gratitude. We can focus on that, even though we're going through this time where it's unsettling and uncomfortable. And I think just having taking a moment to just say, I need to understand that this isn't going to feel settled, that this may not feel settled for a long time. And so if we can kind of live in that discomfort without it toppling over on top of us and making every moment of our lives super stressed out and uncomfortable, then I think we're doing a lot to teach our children how to process life, because life has all of those ups and downs, and they're always going to come across new challenges. And that life lesson, I think, is one of the things that can come out of this that will be really positive.
Amen.
I think perspective is coming out of all this too, to be honest. Like just listening to all of you guys, I constantly find myself thinking, oh, this would just be easier if my kids were older because they could play by themselves. And then I hear moms with older kids saying, well, it'd be easier if I could just play because I don't have to do school with them. Your kids are young, they don't have to do school. And then, saying, oh, well, if my kids were grown, well, then you guys are worrying about your kids who are living by themselves.
It never ends, Lindsay.
It
never ends.
It's a vicious cycle. So I don't think there is any right age for this to be easy. This isn't easy for anybody. And I think, like you said, Dana, giving yourself grace as a parent to say you're not going to be traumatizing your kids for the rest of their lives because of this. It's all in how you handle it and the lessons that you can learn from it. But I think of like newborns, moms that are expecting people to be able to bring them meals and come hold the baby while they nap. They don't have, there is no right age for anyone to make this the easy way to do it. I think of my brother-in-law who's in Washington, D.C. completely by himself. And he probably would think it'd be super fun to play with my kids right now to give them something to do. And, there's no easy way to do any of this. And so listening to other people's perspectives and understanding that, and then saying, okay, we need to be thankful, I think, for the privilege that a majority of us probably have to be handling the quarantine the way that we can. And that others don't have that, and just be thankful that we're safe and healthy for now, and just keep going one day at a time. Makes me think of like the Frozen 2 song, The Next Right Thing. We just keep doing the next right thing.
We've used that in our house, Lindsay, the next right thing.
It's so true. That, and I just feel like Frozen 2 is just playing way too much in our house right now. But yeah.
Oh my gosh, I've not even watched it.
Me neither. No, my little guy's terrified of Frozen, so the sight of Olaf freaks him out. He's like, nope, can't do it. So we don't watch Frozen here.
You're afraid of Frozen.
But he's warm hugs.
He's afraid of Frozen. He doesn't eat ice cream. I think it's everything cold. I don't know. It's really strange. We'll get there. He's 3. He's got plenty of time, but he's fine.
Oh my gosh.
I would say in our house, I think like Grace had mentioned, my daughter has asthma and respiratory issues. So we've really quarantined ourselves at home, and I've gotten creative with how we're getting groceries and other outside deliveries being made to the house. And more than anything, just the new way we have to bring in anything that comes in from the outside, having to wash, having to clean, all those additional steps can sometimes be cumbersome. And as I mentioned, I have 2 high schoolers who are so used to being very independent, having a social life outside the home. So for them, it's a big adjustment. How do they still keep connected with their friends, getting creative? House party is really big at our house. That's one way they're connecting, or through Netflix parties. So that's the bigger challenge now that we know that this is longer. How do we navigate? It was okay when you knew it was for short term, but now the horizon is, this might go on a longer than we all anticipated. Just keeping the positive attitude.
Yeah, that's right. I think that's so important. 2 things I want to say. One, it's been a fun exercise for us, my family, to support local businesses and really putting some energy into, we decide as a family kind of, where we're going to go, and meaning like as a family to order food from a local business. So I think one way to give back and to take action and to get involved is to support local businesses with the dine in Naperville, but anywhere you are. That doesn't matter if you're in Chicago or Naperville or Illinois, but supporting your favorite eateries to try to keep them afloat and spread some love with that one of the things that happened over the weekend, the past 2 weekends actually, are some of the Instagram parties with DJs, local DJs. I'm a big fan of D Nice.
Mm.
You may have seen him on CNN. He had over 100,000 people online listening to music. He
Mhm.
was a DJ for Michelle and Barack Obama, but he was popular even before that. But it was just about, because it's not political, it's about people coming together. And I think music is a huge connector, and
For sure.
finding ways to connect. Mike Aquino, part of Junkyard Groove, a very popular band in Naperville. I often see them at Potter's and 29. Mike did a play session. So a lot of musicians and artists are going live with their talents. A lot of restaurants need our support. So there's so many different
Mhm.
ways for us to get involved and to support and to make a difference during this time. So it's good stuff happening despite the tragedy with the coronavirus.
I know as we talk about business, my hands down largest stress is my practice. Like yourself, Dana, we wear a couple different hats. And I have a chiropractic and massage therapy practice in Naperville, and I have 8 employees. Actually 9 if you count my son, who just started working for the office, and he's going to go off and become a chiropractor and come back in 8 years and take over, and I'll go live on a beach somewhere, hopefully.
Don't leave us.
I'll come back. I'll always come back.
Or just take us with you. Just
We'll Zoom. We're getting used to this,
Right.
just training for when we're not living in the same, same city. Anyway, when this all happened, I got everyone together, like the first Monday, this was maybe 2 weeks ago. I lose track of time and days. I have no idea what day it is. And I met with everyone, and I'm just trying to do my best to be as honest and transparent with what is going on. And the fact is I have a huge overhead, and be that payroll or rent or, everything. And there's only so many dollars I have that I can fund that on my own. So I've been working very, very closely with my accountant, Christina Trapp of Whipley. We actually had her on a few months ago on the Moms Network. And she has been unbelievable. We text, we email. I just applied for a disaster COVID-19 loan. And it's such confusing information there's so many different things going on. There's some loans that are going to be for payroll. There's some loans that are going to be where you can pay your overhead with it. I get paid through a Schedule C and not a W-2, and so that's confusing. And so anyway, she's really doing her part in keeping me up to date of how do I do my best to take care of my employees and take care of my overhead and not put my practice under, or at least temporarily, right? And I feel very fortunate that I've been in business in Naperville for 20 years. We have a strong base, and we have a strong practice, and we have an incredible staff that love each other and support each other and help each other out. There's lots of businesses that are newer in business. I can think of a number that opened up in the past couple of months, and now they're shut down. And my heart just goes out. I've had 3 panic attacks in my life, and this would be the closest feeling to that. And that kind of constriction in my chest, and just feeling like I'm in this sympathetic fight or flight mode to try to make sure that financially my staff is okay. And that is just really weighed on me. So I'm hoping when we come out of all of this on the other side, which I know we will, that everyone that is in the position to do it can really kind of find a couple businesses, go in, over tip your bartenders and your servers, make some orders instead of ordering, from Amazon, go to Oswald's Pharmacy and
Right.
purchase for them. They're doing free online delivery, actually, just so you know. We just found out, I think yesterday or this morning. Again, lose track of days, but or any, I know, Patty, you have a business. Most of you have associated with a business, I think, in some way, shape, or form. So how is it affecting you?
Well, it's funny because I usually, most of my clients are virtual, so I'm used to working in the virtual world, but my clients are not. So they're all new. Like I just have one of a client I've worked with for 8 years. They're all at home, and they just discovered Zoom. And now they think that like I can be in meetings all the time. They're like, oh my gosh, we didn't know you could just pop in every meeting we have. I'm like, oh, great. Great. So, but it's it's funny because I think I've gotten even more relaxed. I just was saying before on this call, this is the first time I've had makeup on in 2 weeks. And yesterday, I actually had a client that I worked with for a long time, and he goes, "Hey, I think you have something in your teeth." And I'm like, "Oh gosh, I've let it go so much." So far, I haven't felt the direct hit to my business. I feel like I will get it like it's going to be a trickle down because it's going to affect my clients and that will affect me. I worry about my clients because I work with small businesses and entrepreneurs, and I love them. Like they're friends and they are people I adore and admire, and I love what they do in the world for their work. And so I want them to thrive. And so that's probably another little stress that I carry. And I try to, as much as I can, help them through this. I work in communications, and the one thing that has been key through this is communicating what's happening to your staff, to your clients. Like everybody needs to be pushing out more and more communication. You can't over communicate this with your, like, again, like Kathy, you were saying, with your staff, like being able to sit down and just say, this is the situation. And as real as it is, and as maybe not happy as it is, it's that needs to happen all the time. And your customers need to know that too. They need to know, if you are staying open, what are you doing to make sure they're safe? How are you delivering products, or how can people still engage with you? Like I think when we look at this and we look back at it and we see the leaders of the world who will come out as the quintessential leaders, they're the ones that have communicated everything so effectively. And we need to do that even after this is over. We need to take that with us.
I think you have two reactions when something like this happens. And I think one, you can be paralyzed by fear and anxiety, which is a very natural reaction. And I think when those things happen, it ebbs and flows, right? So there's days where you see something in the news, or there's a diagnosis that hits home for you or that resonates, and you can respond in those ways of tragedy and take that time to grieve, what your new normal is now and what used to be of the past. But I think another reaction is the planning. And what I encourage people to do is get in the lab of your own mind, your energy, your spirit, your ambition, and plan for things when this is all over, right? There's going to come a time where things will be lifted. And if all you have is the COVID 20 pounds that you gained during this time, right? Have you served yourself well? So my challenge to everybody, including myself, is what do I want for this next chapter to be? Because I think it's going to be gangbusters. I've got a lot of things that I've thought about for when this is all over. And I think people are going to be coming out with new businesses, new improved businesses. So it's all about kind of staying the course and making sure that your mind is good, your spirit is good, your energy is good, and that we are trying to get by as best we can, in terms of cutting back, supporting each other. How can being nimble, right? Adjusting, changing businesses in the way that can hopefully keep the economy going as much as we can. But it's also about getting ready. And so it's the plotting and the planning that's happening during this time that I want people to be encouraged and inspired by. You got nothing but time on your hands, right? And so how do you spend that time, right? Do you serve yourself well by just sitting around worrying? Or are you sitting here plotting and planning? So as soon as this thing is over, right, I'm going to be ready. And you can do that in both a professional and a personal way. And I've got a shout out for the single people later on. We'll talk about that later. But I think that it's all about this plotting and planning phase, and use this time to your advantage, because it's gonna end eventually. And will you be ready when it does?
What has anyone done any organizing of their home or?
I knew it. I knew those were going to be the two hands that went up.
If I can get the rest of my family behind it, because as I mentioned, everyone else in my household views it as a staycation. So, but that's my hope. Like Dana said, use this time to get all those projects that you typically don't, but at the same time, hopefully use this time to assess what really is important and what's not. And what do you want that new chapter after all this is done to look like? So it's almost like we get a reset button, to reassess all the things we did just because we were busy, what was important, what do we want to continue. And I think for me, the biggest time in 4 months sending my daughter away to college, I'm using this time to just equip her with things that I won't have that opportunity once she leaves for college. So that's been a big part. So she loves to cook or she wants to learn things. So it's definitely taking time, but it's fun. And Kathy, like you said about businesses, so my business was offering engineering and STEM classes to elementary school students after school program. Now trying to reinvent, how do we go virtual? How do we adapt to that? So there's a lot of additional work taking it online. So I think for a lot of us, it's been more work in some ways to continue to work and just reinventing.
I think the timing for this is so strange, weirdly strange for me. I have been working on a new website, new branding, and building out a studio in my basement for a new podcast I'm bringing out. And then I'm going to be creating online courses for women about just really living a life of happiness and gratitude, learning how to get out of your own way, setting boundaries, saying no, just all the life lessons I've learned over the years and years and through the things that I've been through and how I've processed it, and just helping women understand what can you plug into and what do you need to unplug from. And the room in my basement, like a laundry room that had junk in it, it literally got completed, the construction, the day of the shelter in place order. So the timing of that is awesome. And so I have, furniture being sent every day, and I'm probably a week away from the room being completely set up. You were all on my list of people to come to my podcast basement room, but we can still do it over Zoom. And so I'm thankful for this time that this room was done. I mean, it could have been that I just started it and I wouldn't have that opportunity. So I'm just going to lock myself in my little studio and start recording stuff and just make stuff up as I go along, which is normally how I run things.
You run well that way. It works. It works.
I agree.
Thank you. And Grace, you mentioned the feeling of a little guilty that you kind of are enjoying this time. I would say I feel that way a little bit too. In some ways, I obviously, if I could take COVID-19 out of the world, of course I would do that first. But because we can't control that it's here and that we need to be at home, I think I know how to do it. I mean, Dana and I broke our legs like 2 days apart from each other, right? Or ankles.
You want to tell them about the fight?
Yeah.
No. That's another episode of how it all went down.
I felt like I was training for this time. I was home for 3.5 months and I was on a scooter.
That's so true.
Yeah, now I'm home and I can go for walks and I can get my own water. And so I'm like, I have to be at home. I know how to do that. So
it's good perspective.
Isn't it crazy how many people you see out in all weather?
Gosh, yeah.
I mean, my neighborhood is so busy. It could be snowing, raining, sleeting. Everyone's out. It doesn't matter. You have a dog? You live here? Like, I mean, everybody that walks by, I'm in total shock.
Although my dog is tired of me walking him. Like my dog now, she's like, seriously, every day we're doing this? Like she just looks at me like, you got to be kidding. I thought we were only doing this a few times a week. Wow. Okay. Every day. Great.
And that's one of the good things about this time is one thing I've noticed too by being out and meeting neighbors. People are super friendly. They're so very much craving social connection. It's safe distancing, right? People are across the street or up ahead of you, but it's like, hey, initially it's off-putting. It's like, well, hello, person I've never seen before. But people are just excited to see other people and to make that contact. That's one of the beauties of what we're going through is, and that I hope we continue, is some of the kindness that we're showing to strangers. Because I've enjoyed meeting people randomly across. Don't shake my hand though. Like we don't need to do all that. But I'm happy love you from afar. And so just the whole camaraderie of speaking is something that I would love for us to have again. I went to college in the South, and that was what attracted me to being in Atlanta, was how people speak. I don't know you, but I see you. And that's one thing that I hope we as a community can embrace more and do more of as a result of COVID and our quarantining. I'm sorry, we've got mine in the background. But anyway, I think
that's just our reality right now, right? Erica, how are your kids doing with the e-learning?
My little guy's in preschool, so
that's right.
his preschool has been wonderful, and they've been doing YouTube videos with the music teacher, and it's a faith-based preschool, so the godly play teacher playing little guitar and all that. The educators at every level have gone so far and above what I think any of us ever expected, how quickly they got everything together. I mean, I was a teacher for about 10 years before being at home, and get it done. I mean, it done, and I'm just so proud, the people that I know who are still teaching and educating, and they're doing it. They stepped up to the plate. My daughter's in second grade. I'd be great if it weren't for math. Second grade math. I saw the meme where it said all these Common Core kids are about to learn how to carry the one.
Carry the one.
I love that one.
Yeah, my daughter's been good. She is a reader. She's a great student. I mean, she's self-sufficient. My little guy could literally sit on the Switch for 12 hours if I let him. So that's been a bit of the struggle, getting outside. As soon as we have those nice weather days, it's like out of a cage. We literally talked when Dana was speaking. I was thinking about, we're starting to eat in we have a dining room, a formal dining room that we never use. It's just for laundry. Well, now that my kitchen table is filled with Play-Doh and puzzles, we're getting all fancy and we're eating in the dining room and having family dinner every night. Well, as people walk by, my son is banging on the window literally like dog. And everyone's laughing. I mean, because we feel caged a bit, especially he can't just run out in the middle of dinner. And it just brings a smile to everybody's face,
Yeah. I talked my stepson into letting me try to Flowbee him the other day.
Oh my
God! You guys see that?
I cannot believe that.
So it's like, you remember the Flowbee, right? I mean, the Flowbee was from way back when. I think it was in a Wayne's World thing. Some people didn't know it was an actual product, but I knew it was an actual product.
I didn't either. I thought it was made up.
I tracked that thing down and ordered it for my house because my boys, Jason, Sam, and Nick, Christopher still looks fine. They needed haircuts like 6 weeks ago. And it was just like, we kept putting it off. I mean, we call Nick and Sam the Flowbee twins right now because they've got like this puff of hair and they both have really thick hair and coarse hair. Yeah. And so finally talked Sam, and I did have to, offer him something, but I'm like, come on, you got to do this. We're going to put it on video. And so my vacuum is not strong enough. So I think Jason just brought another vacuum to the house today. So we're gonna do take 2 and see if it would work.
For sure.
I know Denise Provenzano, the owner of Zano Salon and Spas, she's like, stop the madness, stop it.
What are we supposed to do? We either have to learn, or we're just gonna look real disheveled when all this is said and done. We're gonna get real innovative. A lot of people are going to start to just learn how to do their manicures real well. We're going to start doing some facials. We're going to have home hair care. We're going to get real thrifty. We're going to figure it out. Or we're going to look like apocalyptic. And the blonde will boom.
Lindsay, you cut your son's hair.
Oh, yeah.
Hold on. Let me get him back here. Eli.
Yeah, you'd actually did. I thought it was
you did a really good job.
Well, I buzzed it.
I know.
Get it.
But look. He's got such a nice head.
Hi, Eli.
But so he had, I don't know, for those of you that have seen pictures, he had like a fade on the sides and the back, and then normal on the top. And I did a pretty good job because I cut here and I had like a fade and it was all great. And then I was like trying to have like the comb here and the buzzer here, and I was like buzzing against the comb, and he turned his head. So then it was like, here was his hair, and then it was like, like this. So then I tried to even it out, and he looked like one of the Three Stooges. So then I just buzzed all of it. And now I think I'm gonna like keep it buzzed in the summer and just save some money because he's got a cute head. So he can.
He does have a
He can pull that off. Yeah, he looks great.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I've had more video calls, Zoom calls in these past 2 weeks by just connecting with different friends, whether it be college friends, work. I talk to my team as a lawyer. I talk to my team of about 15 lawyers. We talk every other week, but it's calls, but it's never video. And so for the first time, people are craving that human connection, that connectivity. And so there's video calls, and it's like the irony is that people aren't getting haircuts, they're not doing their grooming, they're not even dressing up. It's,
Yeah.
there's no business casual. It's a work shirt maybe,
Like my sweatpants.
No.
party on the bottom, pajama bottoms, totally. Like it's all that. But that's what's awesome is that you don't need all that. You can just be. It's very human, which I love, which is great. I've suggested that we rock baseball caps and other gear, but that's because that's not what's important. So that's really, really nice to just be. I hope people come away with a lot of tolerance and acceptance. We put a lot of stipulations for ourselves, right? You got to look this, you got to do that, you got to have this. No, you don't, right? You're beautiful just the way you are, even if you're wearing your pajamas on a call.
I think this is going to have the feel of just bringing everyone back to the basics, right? And back to connecting with your family and like you said, Dana, connecting online. I know social media, I'm so thankful for it. I mean, there's pros and cons of social media, right? So what are you guys doing what are you plugging into, and are you having to unplug from certain things? Like I said, like, so, are there some things you're just like, I've got to take a breather?
Yeah. I mean, Kathy, you were talking about how is e-learning going? And for me, who is someone who's on social media often, I have had to unplug a bit because the comparison game has been eating me alive. Yeah. It's pressure put on myself. I can't take it. I can't take the charts and the project. And I know I just posted this chalk thing, but I helped them and it took forever. And I was proud of it, gosh darn it. But I will put the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I think it's a lot of good. And it's just, you feel the pressure. You feel the pressure like I'm going to screw up these kids. We just talked about that. My son the other day, I was brought to tears at our dining room table. We were dining. And he said, I was showing, what were we showing? Oh, we were looking at my wedding album. Again, looking at old photos, right? Something you're bringing out and looking at the kids. He said, who are those kids in the picture? I said, those are former students of mine. Mommy was a teacher. And Brandon, who's 5, says, oh, is that why I'm learning so much at home with you? Because you're a good teacher. And I'm like, you're learning? You're learning something?
What?
Because in my eyes, you're not learning anything. You're not doing anything. I'm fighting with you. You're fighting with your sister. And in his eyes, he goes, oh, that makes sense because I'm learning so much here at home with you. And I thought, but I have to stay off social media because I can't take it. I can't take all the perfection because we're all not there,
There is no perfection. There is no normal.
Be honest, they all want to post the good. You're not going to see everybody's bad because it's ugly and messy.
Yeah.
Right? No one's going to just show you their closet on purpose. Like, it's messy. But it's also, I feel like it's such an opportunity for us to really be honest with each other. Like Dana was saying, just be honest. Just shed it. Shed the extra stuff because the stuff underneath is the stuff that matters most. And I love that your baby noticed that about you, Erica. That makes me so happy because it's like, that's the best compliment you could ever get. You don't need anyone else's say so when you hear that. That's enough.
That's true. I've actually had to unplug from like news. Like I've gone back, and I'm a newspaper. I came up through the newspaper industry, so I'm a news junkie. Like I like it all, but it comes in so quickly now that I can't seem to disseminate what is opinion versus what is truth. Like it's just happening so fast. So I've had to really, like, I am big on local news, and, you know, and I'm not just plugging in CTV because that's where we are, but seriously, their daily emails are a gold to me, because it just gives me what I need to know, and I can use that information. But like, I don't watch any cable network news. I do not look at my Twitter feed for anything, because it's just too much all the time. And so I've kind of gone back to old school media. I want the local news. I would like to have my local newspaper in print so I can read it when I want to read it, and I can sort through it the way that I want to sort through it. So I'm kind of going backwards just to get it out of my system.
I would say the hardest thing has been with keeping up with emails. I've just gotten to the point that I've just given up on my inbox. Just the magnitude of emails you get, you know, promotions or whatnot. And I think, like Dana said, you know, we all love social media, but now if I had a choice, I'd rather do a face-to-face, or a Zoom call or FaceTime, as opposed to just reading threads. So I think, if anything, that's probably changed for us. And we as a family are usually always running in 20 different directions with high school kids. It's kind of nice that now we're just down to the basics, where we don't have anywhere to go. So it just simplifies a lot of things.
Yep, I looked at my calendar and I did not have to find a day to put no anymore. You guys know that's my practice, right? I'm so busy that normally I have to be like, oh, Thursday, I have nothing planned. I just put no with 5 exclamation points. Now I just opened up when Liz asked us if we'd be all able to do this call. She's like, when are you available? I'm like, anytime you want. You know?
I just need to shower.
Yeah, right, exactly. Not too early, because I don't like too early. So kind of the last thing I think we want to touch on is, what have you learned anything specifically about yourself during this time? And when we're on the other side of this, when the crisis has calmed down, when people are healthy, when we're not worried about our healthcare system, and, you know, shout out to our first responders and our healthcare workers. That just gave me the chills. You know, the stories that come out of nurses that come home and have to, you know, take their clothes off in the garage, and they're living in the basement to try to protect their families, or they've separated. I know a friend of mine whose husband works in a hospital, and they're divorced, and they're not allowing the children to see the husband to try to keep everyone safe. And I mean, it just breaks my heart. I mean, you know, we've kept this conversation pretty lively and kind of upbeat, but the fact is there's a lot of scary stuff going on, and a lot of really, really tough stuff for those families that are on those front lines. And I love what the Chamber of Commerce in April and Downtown April Alliance have done with April Cares. I think they've raised close to $50,000 to not only support local restaurants, but to provide meals for hospital workers and first responders. So hats off to you guys. That's incredible. I think they started it March 18th, and they've raised that much money so far. So it's kind of a win-win-win. But anyway, if we want to just kind of go around and say just a brief thing about what, moving forward on the other side, what are you looking forward to? And is there something specific you've learned about yourself that you want to carry forward? Who's going to start? Who's brave?
Sarita, go ahead.
What it made me realize more than anything is things that you always put off to do later on. It's made me realize, maybe don't put off things that are important and you want to do. Make it happen. We're so always busy that we don't get to the things that really mean the most to us. So maybe finding time for those things.
Yeah, that's just the truth. What about
I felt that I needed more white space in my life. Like, I needed more space between things. And I kind of always knew I needed that, but this really has brought that home. And I've started writing I know I write for work, but, you know, I started like doing creative writing every day, and I haven't done that for years, to just sit down and do my own creative thinking. And it's been amazing how that centers me, how it makes me feel good about that. And going back to what you said, Sarita, just kind of not putting things on the back burner. If there are relationships that I need to have, there are ways to have them, even if I don't live in the same town with these people. And my family, we've been getting together now 2 weeks in a row on a Zoom call, almost 20, I think 20 of us usually. Wow. All my sisters and my nieces and nephew in France. We all are on this call, and we're all loud and we all talk the same time. And it's the best hour of my weekend every single time. Why were we not doing that before? Like and you mentioned that, Grace, like your family in Italy, like why do we not do this all the time? So that's what I hope that I continue to take with me at the other side of this, is that need to kind of put some space in between all the activities all the time. And it's the self-care thing. And we talk about this on the show all the time. And I know I don't do it. Like I sit there and talk about it, but it's nice to be able to do it and do it the way that it really is nourishing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely feel the same. I'm not going to take connections for granted anymore, near or far. Even my friends from college who they've always been accessible, but we just never took advantage of it. And now that we can't, we are. And so just not taking connections for granted, and also just remembering, like, we are in control of two things for certain: our breath and our attitude. If we can control those two things, we can get through anything. And I want to instill that and teach that to my kids too, because when they come out of this, my biggest hope is that they come out of this as, that was the weirdest but coolest vacation, staycation, bizarre, however long that ends up being, time with my parents that I've had. I don't know what that was, but it was cool. And I want them to have really good, positive memories from it, versus my stress, my anxiety, my thoughts about this current state of events. And if I can do that, we're in good shape for the long run.
Great point.
I agree.
I had my daughter and my little guy, but he didn't say much, but I videotaped them for about 5 minutes, talk about their experience right now and how they feel and what's happening, because she's a little too young to journal too much. So it was a video journal. And I explained to her that this is something that she'll want to look back on. And she is obsessed with American Girls. So she loves history. And I think just remembering that not only is now history, but every day we've lived before this and every day we'll live after this is part of our own personal history. And what are we doing with it? And does it have to be something grand? No, but just in our tone, our speech, our relationships. I've been so proud of my kids' resilience and my husband's calm demeanor. That's why I married him in the first place. He's the yin to my yang. I freak out. He's like cool as a cucumber. And it's so evident now during a time of crisis why he's my partner. And I'm so proud of the way my kids are. So I think for me, it's just remembering, like, yeah, right now we're living in history, but every day is part of our history. And so, what do we do with it?
Yeah.
Nice. How about you, Lindsay?
So I think, there's definitely things that I've thought that we're going to be changing, about our everyday lives when this is all over. And some of them are more concrete and some of them are more about kind of the things that you guys already mentioned. But for one, we've been walking every day as a family. And with my husband traveling so much and my own business, I think I looked at my husband one day, like last week, I think, and I said, oh my gosh, what if I don't like being with our kids? Like I started to freak out. Like I was like, oh my gosh, I'm having a hard time with this. Like I miss my work. I can't work at all right now. For those of you guys that don't know, I'm a photographer. So we're a non-essential business. My business is completely closed down. I can't really do anything. I'm doing some online course sales, but, and I'm thankful this time of year is slower normally, but still, I mean, I'm turning away business and it's just not operating. And so I said, I miss my work. I miss our normal schedule. I was like mourning the loss I had, it's this roller coaster. So I was at like this part of the roller coaster and I said, oh my gosh, what if I don't like our kids? I mean, I love our kids. I like our kids, but I just started to freak out. What if this isn't going to work for me? And I'm going to, fail at all of this. And we started going for walks every day. We put the kids in the wagon. One day, Emmy, our almost 5-year-old, fell asleep. She hasn't napped in 3 years, and she fell asleep in the wagon.
Mm.
I was like, okay, this is good to slow down. She's getting some rest. And the first week or two that we were sheltering in place as a family before it was like actual order, she told me, she calls them virus days. So I had to explain to her why she's not going to school, why she can't see her friends. She has play dates with her friends for like 3 hours. I give her my phone and she talks to her 4-year-old friend for 3 hours. So she's like, I love virus days. Like, this is awesome. So,
Such little play dates.
it is. So she is loving it. And so the concrete thing that we will without a doubt be doing as a family is whenever possible a 5:30 p.m. walk. When my husband's not traveling, we will do that when this is all over. We've always been a family that's been outside. Like, we've always looked around and been like, where is everybody in our neighborhood? And we're always outside, but now we're seeing other people and we're loving it, like you guys mentioned. So we will for sure walk every day whenever possible when this is all over, and just be together and talk and put our phones away and, you know, enjoy each other's company.
Yeah.
So Kathy, I wanted to share with you ladies. So my daughter is very much like me, very organized, and she wanted to be very intentional with this time that she has now. So she actually made her own little coronacation bucket list. So I think that's the key, being intentional with this time we have and do the things that you typically would not when you're very busy with day-to-day life.
Yeah, that's cool. I should have a bucket list.
And obviously she had the vision that this was going to be long. Her list is pretty long.
It's really long.
Yeah.
I made a tiny list of like, these are the things that I could get accomplished in like 2 weeks, like the initial 2 weeks. And it was like, remember Italian on my fluent level and play the ukulele, read more, take baths in the afternoon. Like, just, I'm like, who am I? Who am I? You know.
Did you do any of those? I mean, we're almost.
Book. I did finish a book thanks to book club. But ukulele still has not started. Although now that I finished the book, I think I can get on YouTube and start learning. So stay tuned. That could be our intro.
I can't wait. I cannot wait.
That'd be great. Oh man. Dana, did you talk about your what you want to take out of this and what you want to bring after all this is said and done?
Yeah, well, I will say one of the things I've been excited about is being able to read more for pleasure.
Yeah.
I think I'm the only lady of color who hasn't read Michelle Obama's book, and I'm almost done with it. So I'm super excited about that. Very excited about that. Like I said before, I think it's important to do what you can to support people in the community. I'm a part of the Relief Coalition, which is giving away care packages, care boxes to people in the food service industry, waiters, bartenders, hostesses, but anybody really in need. Reliefcoalition.org. They're actually giving boxes away now in Aurora. They're just food and care packages. Support your local restaurants. We're going to Sullivan's tonight for our carry out. So I'll be going there to pick it up and bring it home. But that's the restaurant we've chosen in accepting the Dine In Naperville Challenge, which I think is so important. There's a ton of people going through it. And I want to take the time, you know, people were in the midst of divorces, separations, abusive relationships. Lean on your network, lean on your circle. Not everybody's sheltering in place with people that they feel comfortable with. So I encourage you to keep yourself safe, keep yourself lifted up, and make sure that you lean on the people. And now's not the time to pretend like everything's okay and that you've got it all together. So I encourage everybody who's out there, if you are suffering, for ways to safely connect with people to get the support that you need while you're sheltering in place. I encourage everybody to plan your comeback. Like I said, once this is all over, people are going to be out here doing their thing. So take this time that you have, relative free time, if you will, to plan that strategy, make those phone calls, reach out professionally. I also think it's a great time if you're single to shoot your shot. Single people out here, right? You know, we're back to the phone conversations of saying hello. I think there's a lot of people who are married who may not be married next year, right? So my whole point is be intentional personally, be intentional professionally. I just think that is so important. I want to give a shout out. Yesterday was Doctor's Day, National Doctor's Day. And we cannot thank our medical professionals enough who are out there on the front lines, whether you are in the medical space or even the mental health care space of supporting people. So I encourage you as well.
Yeah, no, that is so true. Well, I think we're all
Thank you all.
I think that's so true. Thanks for sharing that point, especially about some people not feeling safe in shelter at home. The thing that I take away from this time is how much I love being home. As I've gotten older, I've gone from a little more extroverted to a little more introverted in some ways, and I really am enjoying this time overall. And I think just keeping some of the things we've all talked about in mind of trying to stay positive, trying to focus on gratitude, connecting with people that we haven't in the past when we have every opportunity to do this anytime we want to, right? There was Zoom before the crisis. So I just want to thank all of you for coming on today to share, how your experience has been. And I guess the thing that I would like to leave everyone with is, we can't always control the things that come into our head and the worries and things that we have. And we all have a lot of worries and fears right now, which is natural. But we can decide how much energy we give them and how long we allow the process of negativity to spin around in our heads over things that we don't have a lot of controls over. So finding ways to not nonstop focus on what's happening in the fear and to focus on our families, focus on ourselves, focus on what we can give back to the community if we can give back in any way, shape, or form. And I also am struck by how incredible our community is. And I look at just even the seven of us coming together and the friendships we have and how thankful I am for them. I feel an overwhelming sense of gratitude for the people in my life, and then you extend it to the community of Naperville and even the surrounding areas that we're pretty awesome, and we can do this. We can come together and do this. And I'd say the last thing that I've learned is I touch my face a lot.
Gosh, I know. I do it just like doing this Zoom video. I kept thinking, how many times am I going to touch my face?
I'm like, I'm going to get this. I probably touched my face 12 times. When they first put that out, I was like, okay, well, that's nice. I don't touch my face that much. And in 24 hours, I was like, oh my God, I touch my face all the time. Stop it. But anyway, I just, my wishes for all of you, stay safe, stay healthy, physically and emotionally. And I'm looking forward to connecting and giving you big hugs once we're on the flip side of this. And thank you to NCTV 17 for helping us create this moment where we can all get together and share. I appreciate you as well. So hope you all have a great rest of your day, and we look forward to coming to visit with you again soon. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.